Hi there, I am Richard Trethewey, and welcome back to another Pro2Pro. We do this here in the studio, and we bring in experts, and we talk to our plumber friends, our contractor friends, and share some of the behind the scenes and some tips that we might offer. Today we have Vinny Arnese from American Standard. Hey, Vinny.
Hey, Richard, how are you?
Thanks for getting with us.
Thank you.
Today we thought we'd talk about two things. One is shower valves, any innovations that have happened in shower valves, and the other is the basic toilet. Has there been any installation tips? So we're going to start with shower valves. This is a standard shower valve that we've used around here for many years. They're all basically the same. You've got a hot, you've got a cold, up to the shower head and down to the tub spout with the diverter right here. But before we put this into a house or a commercial space, oftentimes we have to solder right close to the valve, and the manufacturer will tell you you need to get that cartridge out of there because that extraordinary heat can wreck the O-rings and any of the operation inside there. So you always want to remove that cartridge before you solder. You've changed that a little bit.
Yes, sir. The first thing we did is we included the cartridge with the trim, so we took that out of the equation.
You don't even let that go to the job site during the rough. Okay.
Correct.
Yeah.
So with the valve itself, every valve comes with a test cap. And that test cap, and this valve happens to be a non-stop version, so usually your supply stops would be there, but if you don't have the supply stops, test cap is going to allow you to test this valve and run any debris out of the lines.
So you can turn on hot and cold water to pressurize the lines, and that'll hold tight.
Correct. So if they solder with the test cap on, the O-ring here is going to survive.
Perfect. Good. All right, well, I'm glad to see that test cap. Now, the other thing is about the installation of a shower valve. So we have a little mock-up wall here. So with conventional shower valve rough-in, you want the valve body to be in the middle of the 2x4 opening, and you want it to be secured, but you also want this finish grade to be right for the tile or whatever your wall surface is. So what happens if you try to do this? You have a conventional valve with a 2x4 behind it, it puts it out too far. So, and then oftentimes you have to also try to find a way to secure this with strapping, because you really want the valve to be tight, every time somebody turns that valve. You've changed that a little bit.
Yes, sir. So with the flash, we made it so easy that it's small enough where it fits in a 2x4 wall.
So you made this dimension smaller, and I see these screw holes on the back, so now you can secure it right to this, and look what it does. It's pretty much, but it's almost perfect in terms of its dimension right here for 1/2-inch cement board and or tile. All right, so let's get one of these valves mounted onto this cross brace.
Yes, sir. So we're going to take the PEX version, the angled PEX, and first thing we're going to do is we're going to take off the roughing plate.
Good.
Okay, and then we're going to line that up.
Okay, I'll hold that in place. Why don't you pop a couple screws in? Good. Nice and secure. We're going to use PEX on this, and sometimes I avoid PEX because it doesn't have the strength. I always loved copper because you put this in, it gave the valve some rigidity inside the wall, but you don't need this with it that well secured, so I like that. So why don't you pop that rough-in plate back in, please?
Yes, sir. So this plastic guard is a template for the substrate and the valve itself.
It also acts as a template. So here's our finished wall board. This could be tile or cement board, whatever. Now you can see right here, the rough-in is just about perfect for its depth. By mounting it against this 2x, we've come out to the perfect flush grade right here. Now this rough-in plate is also a template to establish the hole size you need in your finish for the tile installers. So we don't have to be fussy right here, but I can just mark that out. All right, so just pop a couple of screws into the sheetrock, please. All right, so one of the things we worry about as plumbers is water leaking down inside the wall, and it often can happen at the finished plate, at trim up. So, water sprays off of the person and goes back against the wall. So conventionally, we've always had a finished plate like this with either a gasket or putty or caulking or something, and then it always has a couple of holes right here for screws, so the screws can actually pull the plate tight against the valve and actually compress the wall back here. But you guys have changed that a little bit too.
Yes, we changed up the way we sealed it. So no longer do you have the screws on the front of the escutcheon plate, but you have
no screws at all visible. I like that.
Correct. So you have a clean aesthetic.
Yeah.
And then what we did is we changed the escutcheon backing plate to have the gasket seal here.
All right, okay, so this will come, a roughing in plate will come out, and then you've got a gasket here that's gonna go tight to this point, and then the O-ring on the inside right there. All right, let's show that.
Okay, so the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take off the roughing guide. Okay.
All right, roughing in plate's gone, you got a little cap there.
So we're gonna take off the stainless steel ring, which is holding in the test cap.
Yeah, but we're gonna reuse that.
Okay.
All right, so how about the cartridge? Any tricks to that?
So the dual ceramic cartridge, there is one trick, and we made it real easy, the up position.
Okay.
All right, so it always has to be in the up position, so if you want the right mixing done,
Yeah.
and then you just slide that bad boy.
It's got an O-ring.
It's got an O-ring, it should be pre-greased, so it slides right in, you have your hot limiter right there.
Okay, and then this locks it back
You
in?
just slide your retaining ring right back on.
I could even do this.
Hey, I could even do this. And you give it a little snug,
You wanna be careful not banging that O-ring.
just a little
Good,
snug.
perfect. So how do you make this watertight? How are you different?
So we changed up a little bit here. Instead of having the screws in the escutcheon itself,
Okay, so no screws at all, all right?
right, we have a backing plate for the escutcheon. So we have the screws on the backing plate, and if you turn that around, there's a gasket built into the unit already.
All right, so there, the screws will pull that to make a nice tight seal around the top side. And then I see an O-ring right here too.
Correct. So you have an internal O-ring, you have an external gasket, and then on the stainless steel here, you have an O-ring as well. So you have essentially 3 protection guards for any types of leaks.
All right, so let me see if I have this right. This escutcheon is going to cover this. We come through here, and that makes a tight water seal to this escutcheon. This comes on here. You've got another O-ring right here that's going to make a tight connection here, and then you're going to put the 2 screws in there and just compress this tight.
That's correct. There we go.
Look at that draw up nicely. So now, fundamentally, you've got an absolute watertight seal between that gasket and all the O-rings here. Good. So how does that plate go on?
So the next step for the escutcheon, so as you can see, the escutcheon has no screw holes.
Right.
Right, it's completely decorative.
Right.
So what we do is we take the escutcheon support ring, you have a couple notches, snap fit.
Keyway, and it's going to snap in.
So it snaps right in,
Okay.
and then you would mount that up after you screw it in. So let's actually screw it in.
Okay.
So right from there, you have your escutcheon support ring on, nice and snug. You're gonna line these
The keyway is right there, so north-south on the valve. Okay.
north-south, pop it on, you do it nice and easy,
Nice.
snaps right in.
All right. So to all my plumber brethren, we always come up to a valve. The homeowner's always watching us as we come in, and we look for the screws to loosen, to take the plate off, or an Allen screw underneath. Okay? But look, there's none right here. So if you haven't watched this video, you're going to come in and be embarrassed. So make sure you watch this over and over again. This is really a selfless plug. So if you want to get this off, you're only going to do it by snapping it off. Okay? Finished product looks really good. I like this. A clean look, handsome tub filler, and then a big shower head. So that is pretty good. And it would go a lot faster if they weren't taking videos of us, wouldn't it?
Sure.
All right, let's talk about toilets.
All right, so this is a toilet from our Champion line. It's been around for about 12 years or so. And one thing it does really well is it flushes
That's a good thing.
on 1.28 gallons.
Awesome. And that's not always the case. That's great. But you guys have been paying attention to saving some time on installation.
So we're always looking to innovate on flexible installations and saving time, of course.
All right. So one of them is making the connection from the tank to the bowl. Why don't you pop this up on top? I've done a few of these in my day. So tank to bowl gasket right here, tank bolts here. So now it comes down here, and typically, you're in a tight little bathroom. You got to be a contortionist. So you reach down in here to hold the bolt. There isn't always this kind of room, and then you need a washer and a nut. And so you try to get up inside here, and you often drop them. You feel around for them. Once you do get it caught, you try to get up here with a box wrench or an open end and make the connection. You've changed a little bit.
Very easy. We added in a easy install kit. And what we have here first is the retaining clip. So let's put that on the bolt.
Onto the tank bolt, okay. So that will lock that bolt in place so I don't have to put my arm inside here anymore.
Correct.
I like that.
So the second step would be, is you have your nut and washer combined,
Look at that.
right?
Washer and nut together, yep, perfect.
And then with a fancy nylon wrench,
With this, you make up the connection. That could not be easier.
so you really don't have any need for a deep socket wrench or any other type
All
of
right.
tools.
And can you get enough torque with this without a wrench? You don't put a wrench on this, or?
You don't need a wrench. Once it gets China to China contact and you have both evenly, the wrench will actually torque off itself.
All right, why don't you put that on the other side so we can make it come down evenly?
So once you get China to China contact, what this wrench is going to do, it's actually going to flex, so you don't get any
Oh, it's like a torque wrench.
That's right.
So you don't crack the ball.
Correct.
The tank. Cool.
fail-safe.
Nice.
Feels pretty good there.
Let me just snug up my side. I like this that you can't over tighten it. And it makes a nice, look at how tight that is. That's great.
Oh yeah, super tight.
So that's going to save a lot of time. I like that. What else you got?
Well, let me show you something for the bowl.
All right.
So we got a toolkit here to ease the installation from the bowl to the flange.
Okay. All right, so, standard, a flange like this, it's got a Johnny bolt. The bronze bolt has a keyway right here. This flops around a little bit. This has got a little retainer on it that tries to improve it, but it's still not terrific because you really want these to be dead on when you try to set that bowl and come up through these holes.
Correct.
So what's changed with you?
So the issue is you don't want these moving around, right? So you take our Johnny bolt, slide that right in, and there's a fastener that comes with it as well. And what you want to do is tighten that fastener down so it's nice and rigid.
Look at that, big difference. Okay, cool. That gives you at least a shot at getting the openings over the top of it.
Correct.
So why don't you put the other one in?
Line those up. Fasten that down.
All right.
There we go, nice and rigid.
Let's set the toilet. I just grabbed the other end. Now obviously we would put a wax ring underneath here if we were actually installing this. Just line it up. There we go, perfect. All right, so the standard connection for the bowl to the flange has always been with a white plastic base, a chrome-plated brass washer, and a nut, a brass nut. And that goes on. You tighten it up with an open end, and then when you're done, you have to cut the end of it off in order to have the bowl cap fit on top of it. You've made some change there, though.
Oh yes, definitely. So the improvement that we made here is a nylon nut, right? That is going to be anti-corrosive. And this really just spins right on very easily.
So no washer, this thing goes right down, nylon onto the china, so that's actually a softer material.
Correct. So it's soft, it's not going to corrode, it's not going to rust.
Okay, and then I cut it off?
No, you don't have to cut this one off. We actually include tall bolt caps that just snap right on.
So no more of this.
Correct.
I like that. That saves time and aggravation because you always worry about scratching the chinaware. All right. Well, there's one more innovation that I wanted to share that we picked up from somebody who wrote into us that says when you're setting a bowl by yourself, sometimes it's easier to have a witness mark. So you'd set on the tile floor of the bathroom, you'd do a little blue tape on this side and again on the other side. And now when you're setting it down, you sort of can zero in on it to make it. I thought it was a really good tip.
It's a great tip.
So you've shown us a lot of things that save time. So it's time to go. Thanks, my friend. And thanks for joining us for Pro2Pro. You'll see plenty more of these coming. Look forward to seeing you.